Hi everyone, I have an extension stick. I hope that you can all see me as it's going. I'm getting this message to rotate my device. Anyway, I'll learn the technology as I go. Apparently a lot of you wanted to see more of where I am. This is the park that I come to. It's part of my route. Anyway, so what I wanted to speak about today, because we finished the book of Exodus yesterday on Shabbat, 2 days ago, and we're beginning the book of Exodus. We finished Genesis and are beginning the book of Exodus. I thought I would speak about the sequence. I always find it so moving at the end of the book of Genesis, how both Jacob and Joseph draw their legs into the bed. And then they pass, and with that there is the emergence of the Jewish people as a nation. It's like in Genesis we have the story of the patriarchs and the tribes, Joseph who's an intermediary, but Exodus we start something else. So in English those names are Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers and Deuteronomy. And Genesis obviously is because it's about the genesis of the world. Exodus because it's about the exodus of the Jewish people from Egypt. Leviticus because the book of Leviticus is largely about the service of the Levites, the temple, the service of the sacrifices, etc. Numbers begins with the counting of the tribes and the people of Israel. And Deuteronomy is the words that are spoken by God, by Moses, before his passing to the people of Israel. But in English, those names are very different. You know, as I've mentioned once before, that mineral, vegetable, animal, and human are classifications of the natural world in English, but in Hebrew, they actually translate into the silent domain, the growing, the living, and the speaking domains. Very different. Maybe I'll do a post about that at some point. So what do we have in terms of these 5 books when it comes to the Hebrew meaning of the words? Bereshit literally means, well, it's in the beginning, but more accurately would be Bahatchala, at the beginning. Rashi tells us that it's from the word Rosh, head, has to do with the primary intention. What's in your head? What's in your consciousness? What am I setting out to create? Shmot is names. Vayikra literally means and he called. Bamidbar means in the desert, and Devarim are the words, plural. And you know, many of you know I have a background in fine arts, but I also studied linguistics. I've been thinking of doing some linguistic posts and showing how many English words are actually derived from Hebrew. Anyway, when we look at these words, there is significance to the evolution of consciousness and how we navigate our struggles. In the beginning of everything, there is consciousness. And how do we, kind of looking at our intentions, if you want to shift your life, as I've said numerous times, the word for intention, kavanah in Hebrew, is connected to the word for kivun, direction. So Bereshit is in one's mind. You begin everything within. And a baby is born. And that baby has a contained sense of self. I was speaking to my daughter, she brought her baby over. And I said, he's not yet at the place where he has separation anxiety. It's kind of fun before they have that. So we have a sense when we're born of containment and connection, unity. It's that consciousness within. But you know, at the end of the book of Genesis, as I said before, we have the passing of Jacob and the passing of Joseph. It ends with the word Mitzrayim. Mitzrayim literally means Egypt, but it's also Meitzarim, a place of limitations. And that really struck me this Shabbat. How we're all born, there's this light of intention, wholeness and unity. But then comes a place of our first failure, or let's say a dropping from the place of unity into one where we experience the plurality of this world and we're exiled from our own selves, from our own wondrous selves. So that's Mitzrayim. And you have the emergence of a child, and the first thing, well, one of the first things as the child grows that they do is name things. It's very simple, the beginning. But naming is profound because it means I realize I am other. There is me and there is the world outside me. In fact, a name does two things. Your personal name calls to your essence, but it's also only necessary if there's something outside of you. And even in our consciousness, as we begin to name things, we're realizing there's us and them, or me and it, something other. So Abba, Ima, calling to one's parents, calling whatever it is, doll, apple, identifying. Then comes the next aspect, which is Vayikra, and he called. That is the existential yearning and longing. I realize that I am here and you are there, and I want to bridge that gap. And so much of whatever we do in our life is about bridging that gap. Ultimately, the root of all of that is the gap that we feel between us and our Creator. So Vayikra, we call out in yearning, having dropped from a place of perfection. Then we identify things, and then we begin longing. And as a result of that yearning, we enter into Bamidbar, which is the desert. Every one of us has to go through our personal exile, and we have to accept that that's the case. So much of what has us down is the fact that we simply don't want to accept the fact that deserts and limitations are part of the package. There's no ways that it's not going to happen. And how do you navigate that? Well, the word Bamidbar is the same letters as the words Daber Bam, speak about them. You have to speak about the words of Torah. Think about those words. Meditate upon them. Speak them. This is the way in which we move through our Egypts and our deserts to get them to bloom. And what that brings us to is Devarim. Devarim is Daber Yam, not Daber Bam, speak about them, but speaking in a way that accesses what's under the ocean. When we traverse our deserts, we're able to penetrate the inner essence. I'm going to go down here because it's really noisy. Excuse me, New York helicopters. But we're able to access the inner essence of reality. As the Rambam says at the end of his Opus Magnus, the Yad HaChazaka, he says, when Mashiach will come, the waters will cover, the wisdom of God will cover the earth as the waters cover the ocean. There's something about the ocean which is connected to the unconscious. So we speak and we navigate our lives, means we are able to access the inner essence of what reality is all about. And just on that note, before I end for today, the word for a thing in Hebrew is davar. The word for speak is daber, meaning the way we're describing things. And I think that that's so much of what's happening with these books, is telling us, God is telling us, be careful with your speech. There's magic in your mouth. Articulate reality. You have to begin with the conception, Bereshit. What is here? The whole world, what's possible in one's consciousness. Set your intention. Name things accurately. Accept the yearning. And then as you traverse the desert, speak words of Torah. Embrace God's wisdom. The Torah is the mind of God, the expression of God's wisdom. The commandments are His embrace. So embrace that, and then we will be able to access the inner essence of reality. All right, well, that was a bit longer today. I hope you like the extension stick. It looks to me like it might be a bit wobbly. I don't know. You can let me know. Have a great one, everyone. See you tomorrow. Bye.